Sitaram, welcome to SWA DHARMA, carried exclusively on Sankhya TV on Thursdays between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. SWA DHARMA, where we focus on perspectives in one's responsibilities as well as one's responsibilities to society, and all this being encapsulated in the reference texts, the approved reference texts of Sanatana Dharma. This week we continue our little sojourn on the Samskaaras, 16 in number. We are up to number 14, Vivah Sanskar, or the wedding ceremony. This will be dealt with in two parts, and this week and the following session. So this week we will deal with all the ceremonies entailed before the actual marriage day. So the first thing that we look at is Guyana, or the compatibility chart. Even in times of yore, when there were arranged marriages, there was much more use made of the Guyana, of the compatibility chart. Nowadays, it's not so much in vogue. People see each other, are attracted to each other, but we still mention that before that any major step is taken towards the marriage institution, have the compatibility chart checked. Certain little pointers on a Guyana, on a compatibility chart. There are 12 factors which are checked out, and the data is gleaned from the date and time of birth of both parties. Of these 12 factors, 3 are absolutely important. The first of which is there has to be a friendly relationship. There can be relationships with planets, and when we say planets, we mean the Lord or the grahas of the planets, can be friendly, neutral, or enmity. The only one that is acceptable really is if there is a friendly relationship with the two birth grahas. Secondly, there are 27 constellations under which everyone is born, but they are also grouped in 5 groups. And obviously by simple maths, it's not 5 groups of equal amounts, but they cover the 5 groups, cover all the constellations. And if the two parties who have intentions of sealing that bond belong to one grouping, that does not augur well, so we try to sidestep that. And thirdly, something that's very topical, sexual compatibility, that is also can be gauged and can be worked upon from time to time in a Guyana chart. So these are important. If then the Guyana is approved, the compatibility chart is approved by one's purohit, by one's pandit, then it is always prudent to give a date where the topic is broached to the partner. Sometimes, as we all know, that sometimes a proposal or an intention of proposal is aired, and somehow or the other it doesn't resonate as we thought it should. So once the purohit is contacted, he takes the reins on many of the dates we are going to point out here. So hopefully, having established an approved compatibility chart, and the question has been, or the thought has been broached and accepted, then we are thinking month of marriage, and this is very important. And it says here, Maghe Dhanvati Kanya Phalgune Subhaga Bhavet, it goes on. Cut the chase. There are 6 months for marriage. We are highlighting them here. Magh, which is roughly January into February. Phalgun, February, bit of March. Vaishak, Jeshth. You see, the Hindu months might overlap. So broadly, we can say, well, for April, May, June, July, and around November. These are the approved months for marriage. This is Hindu law. And it gives you reasons why. Maghe Dhanvati Kanya. It tells us the propitious months for marriage, they carry certain benefits. And the ones that are not propitious, because the shlok was cut, we're more interested in what we should do and when we should do it. But the others have their negative impact. So this is the first thing we have to look at, when marriage should be consecrated. Now, pristine Jyotisis don't really go for this month, because there's a law in Jyotish that says that the samskar should really be performed in Uttarayan, when the sun is at its northern course. At this point in time, the sun is not. However, it is a wide gap between July and January. So this provision is made, well, you know, if circumstances, you know, not favorable, not ideal, then we might exercise that option. But we still continue to approve the 6. Specified days for marriage. We are accustomed to consecrating marriage on a Sunday, and look, it says, Gandantam Krudawara. What is a Krudawar? A Krudawar is an undesirable day. What are the undesirable days for marriage? Sunday, Tuesday and Saturday. So Hindu marriages ought not to be consecrated on any of these days. And this quotation comes from Shigra Bodh, reference we are giving here. And other factors like Tithi and so forth come into the fray, but this is one we need to pay attention to. And the step before marriage is engagement, what we call cheka in dialect, what is really authentically known as vararaksha. We'll explain that. So the engagement is the first step towards marriage. So it should follow all the specifications, month and day, etc. It ought to follow of the wedding. This is the first step. Varadaksha, the name reflects what the engagement ceremony really is. It is really, Var is the groom-to-be, and Raksha, his protection. Because we need his protection because he is the pilot, or he ought to be the pilot of the future institution of marriage. He has to guide the process. He has to lead the way. And so the representative from the girl side who comes to perform the engaging ceremony, he comes not only bearing gifts, he comes seeking the interest of his sister or considered sister, that he will make his input, and rightfully so, to the pilot of that future institution, so that the bond will have good parameters within which to operate. So he will come in the engagement ceremony. He brings gifts of sweets, clothing, jewelry. Most times the jewelry might be a ring, and we cut a little slack because, I mean, in today's times, the glamour of a girl being engaged, one can't take away from that. And in no way we want to debase that. So we allow that the groom on this engagement ceremony have the ring for his dulhin, for his intended wife there, and at the appropriate time it is blessed in the ceremony. He, the groom to be, might want the opportunity to present it to the dulhin. That's quite okay. That can be done subsequently. So we make that provision, and rightfully so, because when we study the Shastras say all ceremonies have to be undertaken, and at the same time, just like justice, justice should not only be done, it should appear to be done. So there has got to be a sense of glamour attached where necessary, a sense of importance, those things that are important for the dulhin or for the bride-to-be. We acknowledge and we accede to those requests. It's interesting while we set up this Vedika, this altar here, because in the actual ceremony, the puja, the engagement puja, the brother, the representative, will sit facing west, and in the conventional position, the performer of the main puja sits facing east, so they are opposite each other. And the main puja is Bhagwan Ganesh puja. So we always recommend that there be 2 murtis of Bhagwan Ganesh, one facing each of the performer of puja. This is a little fine point that needs to be pointed out, because very often we get into the routine of putting one murti there. So what is really happening, one of the performers of puja has the back of the murti to him, which is not ideal. So we made that little point for clarification purposes. Other pujas that are done in that very engagement ceremony is Mother Earth Puja, Prithvi Puja, Gauri Puja, Gauri who is the mother of Bhagwan Ganesh, Bhagwan Shiva Puja, the father of Bhagwan Ganesh. Kalas Puja is done, and in the Kalasas we say Kalsa, all the finer aspects of Bhagwan, the god of waters, the god of fire, the god of the elements, who help us for our sustenance each day. We give them acknowledgement in this puja, and in Navgraha, who are the dispensers of karma, they have to be acknowledged too and seek out their blessings, because this is going to be a noble undertaking. So we need the negatives quelled. And of course, the one's Guru Puja is also done. And after the termination of the Puja, then gifts brought are exchanged, blessed and exchanged. And we say this is an ideal opportunity for the groom to be. If he has a ring there, it is blessed at that point in time. And he can keep it with him to present to his wife, or his dulhan, his bride-to-be, at the appropriate time. So after the engagement ceremony, the next step will be Nivta, or the invitation. And care has to be given when invitations are presented, or they have the pictures of gods, or the opening greetings might be something like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the Dwarakshara mantra, or Sitaram, the two names of the supreme male and female aspect. We have to be a little cautious there, because remember, these invitation cards, as glamorous as they are, can land up in the bin, and we don't want inadvertently even to desecrate the pictures of the gods and these greetings. A simple greeting, namaste, a simple greeting, that could head the card, and we don't necessarily have to put the pictures of the gods. So just a word of caution there. And it's important to choose the date both for selecting and subsequent printing. As we have mentioned in the beginning, the Purohit has to take charge of certain things. And these are some of the things the Purohit looks at. Because many times, you know, that there's all panic because the cards, the date is nearing and the card has not been printed. All that could have been circumvented if a proper date is used for the printing of the cards. So that's one the Purohit has to pay attention to. And even the selecting, sometimes a miniature Mahabharata occurs between husband and wife-to-be, because there's disagreement on just a simple thing like the card and choice of card. So the Purohit again will choose a date, and there are little techniques and maneuvers in Jyotish where dates can be selected where it is benefit, both parties will mutually consent to undertaking. It's not only choosing cards, even embarking on little projects, there can be dates that are mutually they will consent to. And of course, when the Nivtas or the invitations have been received, you see that too. You select a date and a person to start distribution. And you have a Karmkandi, Brahman, Sadhu, Sadhwain, as the case may be, people who live up to that pious life. We give them, it's a good start. We gain their blessings, we gain their permission before invitations are distributed. And as we have said here, select the date for the beginning of this distribution. So that first date, when it is given to that special person, let it be selective, because in a very uncanny way, these things resonate, these maneuvers resonate in a positive way. And many times we are witness to situations with the things with best intentions don't gel, and that's the reason why the date may not have been appropriate. So we are nearing the wedding ceremony. What has to be done is we need to invite the blessings of the ancestors by the performance of Shraddh. And basically this is done, it must be done on a new moon. And the best time will be the new moon before the wedding date. So Pandit will select the date. That ceremony has to be completed like all Shraddh ceremonies before noon, because beyond noon, the Shastras say the ancestors leave the earth. And the main offering here, when you say offering, would be the 16 pindas, which is for the welfare of that ancestor, the body that they have adopted, and the 6 major accompanying gods that we seek to be or to shower their blessings upon him. So that's the main offering. So this is done before as we near the wedding ceremony. And then comes the beginning of the wedding ceremony, which is Matti Kod. The word Matti means dirt and Kod means to dig. Many times we refer to that day as the Hardi, clinically the Haldi. Either way, Hardi or Haldi. That is just when the body of the bride or groom to be is smeared for beautification reasons, for health reasons with Hardi. That is no part of the religious ceremony. So really and truly, it is the matikor, the digging of the dirt. That's the ceremony that occurs before the wedding. That may happen the day before the wedding, because traditionally when the weddings for Sundays, which shouldn't be, as we quoted, then the haldi is done on the Friday, which is approximately 2 days before. If we are going to use the approved days, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for wedding, let's say we say it's a Thursday, then the Wednesday, the day before, it doesn't have to be 2 days before, the day before will be acceptable for the performance of the matikor of this ceremony. As far as the ceremony is concerned, it is done under a mandap, as we see locally, a maro. Be selective about the date. That when the workmen come to construct that maro, you would have, probably it might be done within the week. Obviously, you wouldn't choose the Tuesday for them to come start up. So again, once Purohit takes charge of that, on the very day of the matikor, one of the first steps is to TK the drum. We honor the drum. In our local scenario, it's the tasa. We honor it with things that are of a nature of puja. Many times you see all sorts of unacceptables being offered to the drummers. Shouldn't be. It's a puja is going to take place. Is a samskar is going to take place. So we have no room for anything but things that fall in the puja list. And the drum is honored. And the ceremony, actually, the digging of the dirt, it should be done in the direction the spouse to be lives, so that if one lives in the south and the spouse is from the north, then when the ceremony is when the tassa along with the women go to perform that ceremony of digging up the dirt and bring up the water, it should be done on a northerly direction. So that's the whole, so the other party will be heading on the southerly direction to perform the digging dirt ceremony. There, in that little scenario, a short puja is done. It's good to have people who know a bit here and there, and women have a place in Sanatana Dharma. Don't ever think that it's the ambit of the Pandits alone to carry on things. It's always good to acquaint oneself with what needs to be done, and the females who are gathered there for that ceremony, there should be one capable to perform a very short puja to honor the earth and a very short puja to honor the god of waters, because we are going to, it is symbolic that the water and the earth, we need the blessings. We go in the direction of the spouse, so that in the transition, when the barat and so forth comes, the party comes, that we have the graces of the earth, of the god of waters, which are very essential for there to be no disruptions in the ceremony. And that is what this is about. At the end of that ceremony, sindoor is distributed to the married women, and they return with the earth and water in the tray. It's covered with a yellow cloth and carried by a younger sister. She will carry the tray. She is usually presented with a little gift. Marriage ceremonies could be unnecessarily prolonged. So there are certain steps we take to make it a free flow. And in the matikor ceremony, these are some pointers to make everything flow easily, freely. First of all, these are items we need in the ceremony itself. Have them prepared before. The dhuri, which is supposed to ward off evil, which the person to be married, whether it's the intended dulha or dulhin, bride or groom, walks to the altar and returns from the altar holding this dhuri in hand. That dhuri comprises, they are all different types of recipes. These are the confirmed ones. It's ground rice fried in ghee, mixed with ginger and black pepper, and it's bound with pag syrup in the form of a ball. That is what the dhuri is. So we have that ready. So when the matikor party returns with the dirt and the water, Pandit can immediately call for the groom to be or the bride to be to enter the mandap, and they are ready. They have the dhuri there. It's good to tie the 9 kangans before the ceremony starts. And the kangan really is tied to temper the senses. and we don't leave everything up to the actual day to explain to the parties concerned. So before the marriage, somewhere before the marriage ceremony, both parties, bride and groom to be, are called in by the pundit, by the purohit, and these things are discussed. They will entail things like contraception, sound practices, etc. That is what the kangan, when it's tied, it's to temper these things until they are ceremoniously taken down. And they are made of, it will be containing ajwain and yellow rice. The ajwain is, you'll get it in the puja shop, a fragrant seed. And the one that is going to be tied on the main performer has these additional coins, supari, and a little penknife hanging there. When the puja actually starts, so it's a free flow. So boy or girl enters with the dhuri. The main puja is Bhagwan Ganesh. The main puja in a wedding ceremony, Natal Samskaaras, is Ganesh Bhagwan. The mantra states, and I quote part, Vidyaram bhe vivahe cha praveshe nirgame tatha sangrame sankteshteva vignasasya jayati. Of the portfolio of Bhagwan Ganesh, vivahe cha, Vidyaram bhe, as far as progressing in the learning aspect of life, Ganesh Baba has an input, and vivahe cha, in the marriage ceremony, he is the main deity. So his puja is done. We also perform the worship of Prithvi Mata, Mother Earth, Gauri Mata, just as we did in the Chekai, the Varadaksha ceremony. And when it is time for the Kalash Puja, the little girl or the sister or the rep who carried the tree, she is asked to participate. Join hands with the groom or the bride-to-be and place the dirt that is brought upon which the Kalsa puja will be done, because as we had mentioned before quickly, the finer aspects of God are worshipped there, because you want all in the ceremony between now and the end of the ceremony to have the blessings of the gods of the elements. And the water that is brought, she too joins hands and puts that, offers the water inside the Kalsa, recognizing and seeking and paying obeisance to the god of waters, Varun Devta. So at the end of the puja, well, the kangans are tied in their relative positions, and the hardi is sprinkled on the vedika, on the bedi, on the altar. Pandit gives the performer of puja, boy or girl, as the case may be, chandan, and then the application of the hardi as instructions go, preferably by 5 young girls. A kanya really is, a kanya is a girl who has not yet undergone the menstrual cycle, because at that stage they are pure innocence, and that's who you want to perform this part of the ceremony. And then after that has been done, the boy or girl will now return inside, holding the dhuri, and always to the vedika and back, escorted by the mother. So after the Matikor ceremony has been done, the only undertaking before the wedding itself, the wedding day, will be the parching of the lava. Now this lava, that is dhan, the rice with the husk, it is parched because that forms the oblation, the offering, when the circumambulation around the fire takes place. Remember, when we go around the fire, what people consider the main part of the wedding, should be told, the main part of the wedding is the kanyadan. But this is very important to the circumambulation of the fire. That is the lava that is parched. Now, when this is done, it is, if it's the boy's side, the girl's side will send some of hers to be parched also, because remember, most times it will be the girl who will host, the girl's family who will host the wedding. So we want that offering to be part of her scenario. It is usually done, the parching of the lava is usually done by the father's elder sister, or one who represents that, the poor. And after this is done, it can be done the very night of the Matikor, if wedding is going to be the next day. The performer of this rite is given a little token, a little gift. So we are bordering on wedding. Now, to be practical, sometimes if someone does not know and the wedding has already been carded, and we can't retrieve the situation, things are in train for a day that is not appropriate, you know, like currently that is not appropriate, what we advise is get to the to a knowledgeable purohit, and the main part of the wedding, which is the kanyadan, could be done at an appropriate date and appropriate time, and so the social event of the marriage ceremony can continue on the carded date if that date is undesirable. However, the exception does not make the rule. This is the exception if things are in train and it can't be pulled back. Knowing, having shared with everyone what the tenets of Sanatana Dharma declare as far as deciding on a date for the wedding ceremony, knowing that we can't just go now, choose a wrong date and says, well, you know, we can circumvent this month. This is only for extreme circumstances. What about, there are concerns too, if there is a destiny family. Well, if there's a destiny family and one of the dulha, the bride, the groom-to-be, is the main person in performing the mritak karm rites, the rites of the dead, then we always, it's always advised in our law books that for 1 lunar year, abstain from the performance of any samskar. Wedding is a samskar. So we'll ask that the things be put on hold for a year. Then, by the law of probability, let's just suppose someone else close in the family has passed on, and we are looking in the direction of the very person, the very groom-to-be, to step up to the plate. A bit of rational and prudence should be exercised there. There would be other persons who can step up to the plate. Let them take the lead so that we'll free this intended groom for the opportunity to have his marriage ceremony consecrated after that lunar year. It does not mean that he has to exclude himself from the performance of anything in the shroud. He can join in the shroud, but there is always a main performer of the shroud. There can be multiple main performers, but that goes under the supervision of the presiding purohit. So exercise options can be exercised and free and make it practicable for that groom who might be in mritak karma rites for a year to be freed after that year. So our law books provide for all these exceptional circumstances. It is only a samskar ought not to be performed within a lunar year when one passes on and an individual performs the main rites. Things like buying new vehicles, repairing homes, other takings, they are not samskars. Fortunately, the samskars are being discussed over the series of programs. These are necessary undertakings, investments and so forth. They can all be done, preferably on appropriate dates, but they are not samskars, so it does not preclude one from going about life normally when one has passed on and that individual is the performer of the main rite. So once again, on behalf of Sankhya TV, thank you for joining us in yet another program of SWA Dharma. By God's grace, we meet and greet next week. Sitaram.